having said that, I will now provide. So you have seen the status of the regional implementation in the SAM region, and now I will provide an overview of the regional implementation and planning in all the other ICAO regions. So this presentation really is a collection of all the inputs that I have received from the various regional officers. So unfortunately, these people couldn't attend the conference, so I am trying to convey their message on their behalf. So we're going to see the regional implementation and planning along these regions: Asia Pacific, Middle East, Africa regions, and North America and Caribbean. So we start with the Asia Pacific regional implementation. Okay, in the Asia Pacific region, we have the AIS-AIM Implementation Task Force, also called AAITF, which is a task force managed under the ATM subgroup, under the APENPERG, and this is the regional body that is really supposed to advance the AIM implementation in the Asia Pacific region. So the AIS-AIM Implementation Task Force has developed guidance material for the AIS in the Asia Pacific region. And in fact, actually, the guidance material, the guidance manual is actually available on the Asia Pacific Regional Office website. Now, the guidance material includes 3 chapters. Chapter 1 is about AIS quality systems. Chapter 2 is about selection and training guidelines for AIS. And chapter 3 is about the OPAD procedures. Now, this guidance material is undergoing a significant review. I'm aware that actually Japan is particularly looking at chapter 3, and this new manual will be delivered at the next AITF task force meeting. There's going to be also a new appendix at this, within this guidance material, which will contain interim AIM transition guidance. And the reason why, unfortunately, I have to admit that, the reason why they had to do so is to compensate the delayed delivery of global guidance material documents. This is something that, unfortunately, I have to say. There is a lot of guidance that is still on the way, and I know that there is a huge need for delivery, with particular attention to the training manual, the quality manual, and the AIS manual. So in the guidance material that the task force is updating, they basically gave priority to 4 main steps of the AIS to AIM transition roadmap. And these 4 steps are identified in the following slide in this presentation. So they decided to focus the attention specifically on P17, the implementation of quality management system, because in this region, but also unfortunately I have to say in other regions, the implementation of QMS is still a huge challenge. P18, agreements with data originators, because it's well acknowledged and recognized that it's important to establish agreement with data originators to ensure the quality of the aeronautical data and the aeronautical information. P16, there will be more guidance with respect to training with respect to the existing functions, but also when transitioning to the future AIM environment. And then they will provide additional guidance about the electronic AFP, because the electronic AFP also can mean that you have established in your state, in your organization, a centralized database. So this means that you're already taking steps forward to move also towards the phase 3 of the transition. The APAC office, with the support of the AITF, they have also developed an AIM transition table to monitor the status of implementation in the region. So the table is supposed to measure progress against the roadmap steps and timelines. It's updated according to receipts of progress information by the various states belonging to the region. It's posted on the ICAO APAC office website, and it's actually used to identify also the AIS deficiencies, so that the APENPERG is actually as a good overview on which are the critical areas where more attention is required. That's it's a very dense slide, but it provides an overview of the implementation status in the Asia Pacific region. All the black spots that you see here, without going too much into the details, indicates compliance. So you can see that with respect to phase 1, there is a good progress within the region. Going towards the digital phase, it's becoming a little bit more of a challenge. We have also this combined overview of phase 1 and phase 2 of the transition roadmap, the implementation, the regional progress across the region. And it shows that some states are doing reasonably well. Some others are starting to taking the first steps, and some others still they have to considerably work on transitioning to AIM. Overall, there is no single state that has completely implemented the whole phase 1 or the whole phase 2 of the transition. The challenges to implementation. Certainly, again, the lack of guidance material from us, with particular attention, as I said, to the quality manual, the training manual, the updated EAS manual. And just in support to that, as I said before, I mean, in ICAO we're now transitioning, we are creating a new office, so we're going to have probably a new dedicated AM working group under the IMP panel, so we are planning and taking steps to make sure that this activity will move forward. Other challenges are organizational challenges, because several times it happens that there is a lack of state policy and financial support for AIS and AIM activities. And it often happens that there is also a pure understanding of the criticality of aeronautical information to aviation operations. Because we know aeronautical information is critical, it's fundamental for PPM, but this is not always well understood at various different levels. With respect to the planning, okay, global overview, we know that we have the global vision defined by the ATM operational concept, and the global strategy is identified by the GAMP, the Global Navigation Plan, and the GAST, the Global Aviation Safety Plan, together with the aviation system block upgrades and the global safety initiatives. But if we look at the regional part, the main tool for planning is in Asia Pacific is the Asia Pacific Seamless ATM Plan, which defines really the objectives and the timelines within the region. Now, the Asia Pacific Seamless ATM Plan basically identifies 10 main regional priorities, and among these priorities, we have also the D0 digital ATM, aviation system block upgrade model. The plan is divided in two phases. First phase, the deadline was actually November 2015, and included that ATM systems should be supported by digitally based AIM systems through the implementation of phase 1 and phase 2 of the AIS-AIM roadmap. So the way they measure this is through a specific metric, which is the percentage of phase 1 and phase 2 elements. With respect to a phase 2, whose deadline is November 2019, basically phase 2 foresees that ATM systems should be supported by complete implementation. Let's go. as we're saying, phase 2, deadline November 2019, which foresees that ATF systems should be supported by complete implementation of AIM phase 3, using as a minimum the AXM 5.1 version. And the metric that they're using for measuring the progress in this sense is the percentage of AIM transition steps. That was the overview with respect to the Asia-Pacific region. Now I'm moving to the Middle East, the mid-region. The mid-region provided right away the status of implementation of phase 1 in the region. As you can see here, with respect to WGS84, ETOL, and digital code. Again, also here they have identified specific targets divided in various different phases. And for monitoring the implementation, they have identified indicators and metrics. So for example, for AXM, as an indicator, they have percentage of states that have implemented an AXM database, and as a supporting metric, the number of states that have implemented the AXM-based database. This is an overall look at the status of implementation of D0D ATM. So again, we see here good progress with respect to WGS84 and Iraq. More problematic is QMS and also the transition towards the digital phase of the implementation of digital database. Challenges and lessons learned by the region. So the main challenges certainly are represented, as I just said, the implementation of QMS and AXM and ETOL. And NIDA is actually a centralized database that they are trying to create in the mid-region. And it's a good initiative, but it's one of the main challenge regional initiatives that they are taking into account. The main reasons for non-implementation, financial issues. It happens also that there is a lack or shortage of competent human resources. And in the mid-regions, it also happened that 4 out of 15 states, they have to face very serious security issues. So it was difficult to provide assistance missions and support. What it could be useful, of course, requests for guidance material and IKITs, that stands for implementation kits, that could help states with the implementation. So how the ICAO regional office is supporting implementation. So as I said, they have developed a specific tailored mid-region AIM implementation roadmap. They have developed a template for national AIM implementation roadmap. They are specifying a methodology for reporting and assessing the progress of AIM transition. They are, as I mentioned, creating a mid-region AIM database, NIDA, which is an important project. They provide assistance to states when it's possible. And they are also developing guidance material for the AIM planning and implementation in the mid-region. For monitoring the implementation, this is done through the Air Navigation Plan, specifically related to the mid section part, through the regional performance dashboard, also with the support of the Mid-Upper AIM subgroup, which is the regional body here to advance the AIM implementation, and also with the umbrella of the ICAO mid-regional office. Now we move to the third region, which is the AFI region. In the AFI region, the AFI Planning and Implementation Regional Group, the APERG, has identified some main issues with respect to the implementation and the transition from the IS to AIM. And the main issues are the need to engage management levels in understanding the transition to AIM, and also provide a better understanding of the new vision of AIM at all levels. So there is really a need to really understand which is the benefit of AIM. And it has to be understood at various levels, at top management, which of course implies commitment and budget, but also at a middle management level, to really understand that implementing AIM is as a facilitator for operational activities, as a facilitator for PBN, and overall reduces the cost. So this is something that is not always well understood at all levels, and it has to be, of course, better received by various different levels at the management level. So in the AFRI region, the AFRI AIM task force is the regional body here. So you see every region has its own task force or regional body that is supposed to support the implementation of AIM, which is again established under the APER. The main objectives of the AFRI AIM task force is again to provide guidance to states. An interesting thing that the AFRI AIM task force has done is to review the ASBO modules and to outline a very, very logical, stepwise approach towards the ASBO model, which means identify the operational benefit associated with a certain modules of a certain law, determine the necessary procedures, nominate the required technology, develop the business case, and propose a preliminary strategy for regulatory approval. This is another very dense slide, but just focus on the colors. You don't have to read the text, because green and blue basically let you understand who is compliant with the three different phases of the transition roadmap and who is on schedule with certain steps of the transition roadmap. Green really means full compliance. So again, phase 1, WGSA before, and IRAC adherence are pretty well progressed in the region. Challenges also here, QMS and going digital and implementation of ETOL, etc. Just to give you a little bit of history, in the AFRI region there is this project, the AFRICAD concept, which basically is the intention to create a centralized database which will actually integrate different types of information, mathematical information, methodological information, operational information. And just to give you a little bit of history, in March 2011, the AFRICAD business plan was agreed by the Air Navigation Commission, who also noted that the transition in the AFRI region will benefit if a robust communication infrastructure exists. And the ANC called upon the Secretariat to support and monitor the transition of AIS to AM through the region mechanism. Following the review of the AFRI plan by the Air Navigation Conference, it was also agreed that the AFRICAD concept, when implemented, will review the NSP's efforts and timelines to transition towards an AIM environment. So as a follow-up of the recommendation of the 12 Air Navigation Conference, to this effect, what happened is that ASECNA is progressively engaged in implementing, according to the AFRICAD concept, a regional AIS database to accommodate and enable all the states in the Western and Central African region to transition from AIS to AIM. And it's not only an ASECNA initiative, we have also, in accordance with the AFRICAD concept, South Africa has invited the AFRI states to join the South African regional AIS centralized database. So the APER has totally endorsed this approach and the possibility of AFRI states to migrate to either the ASECNA or the South African database. As a vision for the future, in the AFRI region, what they foresee is the creation of 4 AIS-AIM database across the AFRI region, where consistent and high-quality aeronautical data of the region will be made available to airspace users and also others. Now we leave the AFRI region and we move to the North American and Caribbean region. Okay, here in the North American and Caribbean region, the Regional Performance-Based Air Navigation Implementation Plan is the main tool for planning and includes, of course, it refers to the whole ATM system, but it includes also the IM elements. This is a very, very interesting slide that they have provided because it shows the aircraft movement forecast between 2011 and 2031 in thousands. So what you can see here that from 2011 to 2031, the traffic will increase from 1.2 millions to 3.7 millions, and that the average annual growth in percentage will be about 5.9%. And if we look really at the specific major route groups, this will vary from 4.5 to 8%. So there is a huge increase of traffic, and in this context, of course, the provision of, as I said several times today, the provision of reliable, quality assured information becomes really, really crucial for safe and efficient operations. This is a quick overview of the status of implementation in the NAC region with respect to the implementation of P03, IRAC adherence, and P04, differences declared to Annex 4 and Annex 15. The region is doing very well. 97% of the states are compliant with IRAC, and almost 90% of the states are compliant with P04. If we look at the other steps, WHS84 also has been progressed considerably. The element that again is suffering is the QMS. Also here, it's a constant element across all the regions. QMS is really one of the most challenged, I would say, that states organizations have to face. This is just the same message, it's just a complete overview that where you can really see which are the elements that have been really doing considerably well and which are still the elements that require some work from states. With respect to, so this is an overview of all the phases, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. For phase 2 and phase 3, these are mostly estimated values, and these are data that are being collected through missions or through states reporting directly to the regional office. And this shows also that also here the transition towards digital environment is a challenge together with the implementation of QMS. However, in the North American and Caribbean region, there are interesting examples of cooperation that I'm going to show now in the next slide. For example, we have COSESNA that basically provides a centralized database and basically provides the integrated analytical information package for all the states that you see here listed in the slides. So 4 states have agreements signed directly by the Directors General and that are also part of the board of COSESNA, and some other states that have letter of agreements with COSESNA. Similar example happens in the East Caribbean, where Trinidad and Tobago provides a centralized QMS. So it's the same concept, and I think it's a very, very good example because particularly for small islands or for states that don't have resources, this centralized approach really helps because, as we said, QMS is very expensive, requires a lot of commitment, and this is a nice way for pooling resources. Similar example we have in the Dutch Caribbean. In this case, the centralized database and QMS is provided by Curaçao. We have 4 states that have signed letter of agreements with Curaçao, and Aruba is the LOA is under preparation between authorities. So that's more or less the overall view of the implementation and planning activities that have been undertaken in the various regions. Conclusions, what we can say. First of all, we see that the status of implementation is different, obviously, according to the different regions. No region has fully implemented phase 1 and phase 2, but some are also already taking steps for being prepared for phase 3. They all screen for global guidance that was present in every single slide that I have received from the regional office. Many states are challenged by the lack of state organizational focus on the specific navigation domain, and for sure there is the need of more commitment, as I said before, at the management level, and also to have a better understanding of the criticality of aeronautical information to aviation operations. As I said, examples of intra-regional and inter-regional cooperations are really a good example for an expeditious transition from AIS to AIM environments in a harmonized manner. And what I would like also to underline that implementing, taking all the commitment and making all the efforts anyway to implement particularly the phase 1 of the transition roadmap, the consolidation is very important. we all know that the transition roadmap overall, it's been done in 2009, so it falls short in a full implementation of an AIM environment. But the consolidation part is really fundamental because it makes you prepared to then take the right steps to move towards an AIM environment. And that concludes my presentation. So